Annie and I are out on a beautiful walk in the forest, and I thought this might be a pretty good opportunity to talk about what happened when she kicked me in the face. Now, if any of you are wondering what it feels like to get kicked in the face, it is incredibly painful. Surprisingly, not initially. This is a very new experience for me. I've barely been in a fist fight in my life, so getting hit in the face is brand new. And getting kicked by a horse is also brand new. I've had 10 years of very, very, very little damage done by a horse. Maybe stepped on a couple times. I think I was knocked over one time when going across a river. And so this kind of damage done is brand new. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that and talk about what happened, talk about what I might do different in the future. At the very end, I actually want to talk a little bit about emotional and mental sort of trauma that comes from getting hurt by a horse, because I know a lot of people do bring that up in the comments. So I'll cover that near the end. But first off, yeah, when you get kicked in the face by a horse, you know it. Not that it hurt a lot in the beginning, but after about 5 minutes or so, and you're kind of watching, you know, when you get kicked in the face, you're generally probably going to bleed from your nose. I was very lucky in this case where I did not get kicked anywhere near my teeth, eye, head, and no concussion. Just a small cut and a couple of tiny fractures on my cheek, or my sinus bone, I think it's called, in the cheek, and my nose. Nothing displaced. In fact, I don't think, we talked about it after, and I don't think that I could have been hit in a better place if I was going to be hit on my face or in my head. So there are a lot of horror stories out there about people getting kicked in the face and they're missing parts of their face. So I'm not. I have a band-aid to cover the stitches, which are 4, and then I have bruising. So the initial hit was obviously shocking, but lucky for me, I've actually had a lot of first aid training. I took what's called a level 3 first aid course, and I've recently done the level 1 to redo for insurance purposes. And they teach you an awful lot about what happens when people experience physical trauma. So I knew to kind of keep myself coherent and sort of thinking things through carefully, one step at a time, stay calm, breathe, get some ice, things like that, and get to the hospital. So luckily my buddy was here, and I quickly said to him, we need to go to the hospital. Of course, he said, we need to go to the hospital. So that's where we went. But within about the 5 to 8 minutes that it took to make sure, because Annie had picked herself back up, luckily enough. Whatever I did to jog her enough, she wiggled around and she got back up, so she was fine. But she had gone under the fence, so she needed to be put away. And I needed to grab my wallet and make sure that I had the things that I'm going to need to get to the hospital. Luckily here in Canada, you actually don't really need anything other than your driver's license, and you go in, you go out, no bills to pay. So I wasn't really worried about that, but I wanted to make sure that things were sorted out here. So within that time, probably I would say 7 minutes in or so, and I know that's being kind of precise, shock started to set in. And shock is where you start sweating, usually quite a lot, and you start to lose some of your abilities to think or even move in some cases. I didn't quite have that until about 10 to 12 minutes in, when we were already driving, and I started to half pass out. Now, that is not a comfortable feeling at all. Annie, where are we going? And it started with a black pass out and then white. Now, I don't have an answer for that. Maybe some of you medical folk might understand what happened with me. But essentially, I came pretty close, and it was really, really drowsy feeling. So one of the takeaways that I took from this was that if you get hurt by a horse, especially anywhere in the head, but usually hard physical trauma can make you quite debilitated. Get help immediately. In fact, one of the pieces of advice I usually give to anybody and everybody that'll ever listen to me, so here we are, always carry your phone with you. Don't leave it in the car, in the barn, in the house, anything like that. When you're around horses, carry your phone. And that made me really think about that an awful lot when that happened, because it was very unexpected. And as some people noted in the comments, I'm usually very, very safe and very, very careful around horses, because I know they're pretty dangerous. And she's what, like 500 pounds, 600 pounds soaking wet maybe? And yet within 15 minutes, I would not have been able to deal with the problem by myself. That is for sure. So get to the hospital, get a quick CAT scan, obviously inspection by a nurse and doctor to find out that there are 2 small fractures, non-displaced as he said. And of course, with the cut that was there, it just kept kind of slowly bleeding. He decided to stitch it up. So within probably 4 hours, I was in and out and back home and back doing things. And the only thing I really took for it was ibuprofen to keep down the swelling. Not a lot of pain, surprisingly. Even to this day, the swelling is the worst. What would I have done different? What is casting? Casting is where a horse gets themselves stuck when they roll over and they can't get back up. She goes. Oh no. What now, Annie? What have you done? Let's see if she sorts it out. Annie, you gotta roll the other way. Or something. What have you done to yourself? This is called when a horse gets cast. So it is really important to get horses up after they have cast themselves. And sometimes we kind of rush into things. I'd say I kind of rushed into things. I wasn't expecting Annie's other hoof, the hoof that I didn't have. I didn't expect that to come up and clip me. I thought I would be either prepared or out of the way enough that it wouldn't be a problem. Turns out I was wrong. So in the future, if I was going to do this, if I had to get a cast horse off the ground, I would, or out of that position, I would probably grab some tow straps or ropes or cargo straps, and I would have those and I would do one quick round around their front and back legs, and then I would pull both of them being about 10 feet away. And being 10 feet away, I think that I would be safe enough that once they kind of rolled back over and stood up, I should be nice and safe. I would not approach a horse that close again, as it's dangerous. And then finally, I want to talk a little bit about the emotional and sort of mental trauma that comes with getting hurt. And a lot of people stay out of horses once they've gotten hurt. Especially if they've been bucked off or kicked from the back feet and have some really nasty injuries from it. And I think that's normal for anybody that feels like, you know, they can't be around horses because they're afraid of them because of something like that. I think that's totally normal. Myself, it goes through my mind a little bit more than it has in the past. Oddly enough, and it's only been a couple days, so I imagine this will kind of pass. I won't stick around for too long. But the idea being, here we go through our rocks. Great practice for horses, especially when riding. But I imagine that it will pass. But for the time being, my mind will sort of trace back to that moment. And I will think about, whoa, I've got to be careful. And I think that's totally normal as well. The way that I figure to get past these kinds of things is to just keep trying. And it doesn't mean I have to go put myself in any risky positions, but you know, it's a real thing. Having something happen to you that is physically and mentally traumatic at the time, to have a feeling of helplessness due to not being able to think properly, speak properly, stay awake. Come on, Annie. It's a big deal, and it can have a little bit of a lasting effect. So, you know, it takes maybe the help of friends, the help of horses, if that's the situation that's happened in. And it just follows so darn close. I kind of want her on one side. And time. And I think that's totally normal. So it's been a lovely little walk with Annie. We're enjoying the forest this fine morning. It is quiet. The fall leaves are coming down. The weather is crisp. It's gorgeous out. And a good little horsey. It's not her fault. She is at no fault. It is me who got too close to get a hoof to the face. It sucks, but it is just the way things went. So hopefully this is a learning opportunity for you guys as well. get a little bit out of it that maybe you wouldn't get, because when I was feeling kind of sorry for myself, like, man, what happened there? The one thing that my friend said to me, says, you know, it's probably that this is going to save you sometime in the future. One day you're going to be out doing something with some horse and you'll think back to this time when you were really, really lucky. And it will save you, or it'll save somebody else. And maybe this video will save somebody else. Who knows? So we always want to take some bad and make good out of it. You know, life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. Right, Annie? So that's it for this one. Hopefully that's been interesting. And again, thank you very kindly for everybody's lovely, very supportive and encouraging comments. It means an awful lot. It's really, really nice to read. And yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how so many people can come together and say such nice things all in one place. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys in the next one.